Labour 260, SNP 35, Lib Dems 12, DUP 10, and I believe the Greens have retained one seat. Caroline Lucas at Brighton Pavilion has kept her seat. We're still waiting for Richmond Park to declare. Richmond Park, where Zach Goldsmith is up against Sarah Olney from the Lib Dems. And it looks like it's a potential very, very narrow win for Zach Goldsmith, but they are now on their fourth recount. I mean, I have not seen politics like this in such a long time. Honestly, I really haven't. I've covered one or two of these in my history. Ebbs, let's have a chat with you. Just what's going on? What are people saying about this so far?
Right, well, it's all, everyone's just in a bit of a surprise. Theresa May is getting it in the neck, and as I'm sure she will do for days and weeks and months. It's the arrogance of calling a snap election, thinking you're going to win by such a huge margin, and then that not being the case.
In fact, she was told that was going to be the case.
Well, yes, but then she also had the option to not have a snap election, and of course this has happened now, and this is the result. 639 of the 650 seats have been declared so far. Conservatives have 310 seats. They've lost 13. Labour have 260 seats. They've gained 31. The Lib Dems have 12, gained 4. The SNP have got 34. They lost 19. UKIP currently have no seats. Nothing. Nada. Nothing. And the Green Party have one seat. Caroline Lucas, in the last half hour, won her seat. So that's how it's looking in terms of the seats.
Yeah, Brighton always stands alone on this, and it returned her with a huge majority as well, 30,000 plus, I think it was, or 30,000. So they do like their Greens down in Brighton.
But they seem to be the only ones. Everyone else has other priorities apart from the environment.
Yeah, I mean, that is what's been interesting, hasn't it, Tom? If I can come to you on that the smaller parties that were meant to be sort of gaining momentum in the public psyche, that if the big parties didn't stand for you, then the smaller parties would. They have all but evaporated.
Yeah, and it looks like being the highest sort of share of the vote for the top two parties for quite some time.
For a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in the sort of the debate. The others have been squeezed out. You know, UKIP's purpose is sort of called into question after the referendum. They've got what they wanted. So what do they stand for now? The Lib Dems a slight improvement in terms of seats, but not necessarily in terms of votes. But certainly the focus was pushed to Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn, to the Tories and Labour, and in Scotland even the SNP falling away. They had a sort of unusually high watermark in 2015, where it was inevitable really for them to hold on. Was going to be very difficult, but yeah, absolutely we're seeing a return to the top two parties. You know, how long that will last will be interesting, because we thought after 2015 we might be seeing this new era of multi-party politics, which clearly hasn't happened.
Let's have a look at the Lib Dems. It would appear, looking at who's won and who just melted away, it's the old guard, the people, because maybe the trouble with the Lib Dems is nobody knows who they are anymore. And the only person who really got a kick was Nick Clegg, but that wasn't a surprise either.
No, that had been on the cards for a while, but then you look at sort of Vince Cable and Ed Davey, who have come back after 2 years out.
That's what I mean. It's the old guard, the personalities, the people who people remember from the Lib Dems. But who are the others? People barely know Tim Farron's name.
Absolutely, he is very not well known, and as a political leader, and he's had airtime as well. So they have had that difficulty after 2015, is that they had a lack of personalities, a lack of well-known names. But again, they still don't have huge amounts, and they're going to struggle once again. I think perhaps they're starting to build slowly, and that will always be the case. It's going to be difficult to come from almost nowhere, so they will be building, and they'll try to gain this sort of momentum, and we'll see what happens with Brexit now.
Could we see? I wonder if we could see the Lib Dems back in bed with the Tories.
Well, I still don't know how the numbers are adding up on that either.
Well, it might be necessary.
They might have learned from last time.
Well, we don't know. Let's ask Bronwyn Maddox that question. He's the director of the Institute of Government. Good morning, Bronwyn.
Good morning.
Gosh, we're in a hung parliament situation.
We are.
Okay, so few people saw that coming. What does this actually mean in reality?
Well, it means that the Conservatives are going to have to work out, if they're going to carry on, how to work with another party. Now, they may reach most quickly for the DUP that's not really a Conservative party. It agrees on some things, but it doesn't agree on all kinds of other things like welfare and so on. They could, as you were just suggesting, reach for the Lib Dems to get a very frosty response. In fact, we had tweets from the Lib Dem headquarters overnight saying, look, no, there's not going to be any deal. They got so burnt by the formal coalition. And I think what a lot of people are talking about this morning is whether the Conservatives go for supply arrangement. That is, that in another party agrees to work doing that.
Conservatives have the most votes that they've had since 1992. Labour have the most votes they've had since 1997. What is going on here? Total realignment.
Well, this has become a two-party contest. UKIP has been crushed. The Liberal Democrats, the great revival on the back of Remain has not happened. They've gone up a bit, but basically it's become a two-party election. And, you know, Jeremy Corbyn's strategy has been vindicated. He's held on to those traditional northern seats by saying Brexit will happen, by adopting a very, very traditional approach. He's galvanised young voters, and he fought a very good campaign.
Indeed. Norman, thank you very much.
On that very question you were discussing, John, breaking news, which is an EU Commissioner, Gunther Oettinger, has said he's unsure that Brexit talks can start on time. A weak UK negotiating partner was a poor outcome, he told German radio. We'll talk more about that later in the programme. At 17 minutes to 7, though, let's focus on the election results in Northern Ireland. They're hugely significant, not just for people who live there, but for people throughout the UK. Why? Because the Conservatives are likely to need the votes of the Democratic Unionists, the DUP, to govern. Chris Page is our Northern Ireland correspondent. And Chris, there will be more of those DUP MPs to negotiate with.
That's right, an extraordinary night for the DUP and for Sinn Féin. The DUP gaining 2 seats, they now have 10 MPs. Sinn Féin also having their most successful ever Westminster election. They went in